All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
I've just been waiting here for you. It is so cool to have everybody here on a Friday, you know. Yeah, it's a Friday party, baby. Right on. Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Very cool to have everyone here.
Morning.
Yeah. Fabulous producer John Daly's on board.
Fabulous
We've been
producer John Daly.
chatting all morning. Kim's on board.
Kim, how are you?
Kim, with all of her news and views. Kind of cool to have Kim in the mix, too.
Morning.
What a show. Of course, Friday's our Friday Fabulous Florida show. So bottom of the hour, we'll do that. I've got news from Oprah Winfrey. Did you see Barack Obama on the stump? I mean, that guy can stump for candidates.
Si se puede.
Yeah, si se puede, baby. So that's all going on. And there's breaking news with a Trump legal judgment. And then Trump himself has filed suit against the New York AG. I'll touch on that. Pat Thurston joins us today. Yeah, everybody's been wondering what's up with Pat. We'll talk to her and we'll get her view on any number of things. All that's to come. Yeah. So as we join you today, I want to remind you of someone so important to us and a service that, frankly, you can use. And you should begin a relationship with Steve Moskowitz. And the reason is Steve has been representing individuals and small and large businesses in the world of taxes for over 30 years. And he's our founding sponsor, as you know, and our exclusive sponsor. And we like to give him a shout out whenever we can. But at the beginning of every show, we love Steve. You can see his information scrolling at the bottom of our screen. 888-TAX-DEAL. You reach him at 888 TAXDEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, or MoskowitzLLP.com. We'll talk to Steve a little bit later in the show. Yesterday we were talking about divorce or separation from any relationship and the tax implications. So anyway, we'll chat with him a little bit later. You have to please, if you're watching, get it out of the way now. Smash that like button like a boss, baby. Yeah.
With your iron rod.
You can use your iron rod. It's optional. Just use your thumb and hit the thumbs up. The other thing that I will mention to you, and I've never mentioned this before, and it's, in a way, I'm ashamed I've never mentioned it to you before, but I'm ashamed by so much other stuff that it kind of gets lost in the other shame. But what I would say is, you can hit the notification bell. This is a thing, again, I've never mentioned before. There's a little bell there on YouTube. Those who are veterans of this platform know what I'm saying and are familiar with this. But those who might be new, who might have just come here for us, maybe you're not aware of the fact that you can hit that notification bell. It's a little bell right under the picture on YouTube, under the video, and it will tell you whenever we go up with a broadcast. So you say, well, look, I know you're on at 10 o'clock in the morning and you go till around noon. Yeah, but there will be a time, I hope, that we can go on with a special broadcast and you would be notified in that case. So hit the notification bell and smash the like button like a boss. I'll tell you that I think we're pretty close to 5,000 subs, which is pretty cool. We're trying to, improve this all the time, and subscribers and engagement really helps too. Like even if you put in like, hey, great show today, or really enjoyed it, or like Pat Thurston, or looking forward to this, whatever it is, audience engagement is something else that goes into logarithms that YouTube uses. I'm learning more about YouTube than I ever thought I would ever need to know. So you can support the show, of course, at themarkthompsonshow.com. That's where you can find all of our links to merch. Is it okay to use my pointy finger, says Vanessa in the chat.
Why don't you just text it?
You can text it right into the chat. Vanessa, you can use your pointy finger to smash that like button and take us to the promised land. So, and thanks for super stickers and thanks for super chats. We'll get to all of those at the bottom of the hour. Kim, welcome. I thought of you this morning as I awakened, and I'll tell you why.
I was the first thought on your mind?
Wow.
Not the first thought, but I did think of you. I awakened to, well, I'll tell you first why I thought, because you're a parent, and parents, I think, are used to these sort of unexpected things, and then they become expected, and yet there's something of an inconvenience. And here's what it is. I'm a parent of, we have animals in the house, right? And one of them is not super well. We love him, Charlie, but he's kind of struggling, I think, a little bit health-wise. Anyway, today he hit me with the triple crown. Now, we've been getting a lot of urine in the living room on the hardwood, which we clean up.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean me. And also poop. You get the urine and the poop in this one corner of the living room.
At least
but today,
same spot,
today,
you know where to look, right?
Today, yes, exactly. Same spot, precisely. Today it was the urine, the poop, and vomit. That's right, everybody. Yeah, it was strong. It was a very strong offering.
You got it.
Yeah, and
if you get it in order, you get extra points.
Well, I don't know the order that he actually laid it down, but I'm guessing it was urine, poop. I'm guessing it was poop, urine, and vomit. I know vomit was last.
Well,
So
welcome to San
urine-
Francisco.
Urine, poop, and vomit made you think of me. Okay. All right.
Well, the need to clean it up as a parent and not letting it get to you, because I've got to do it every morning.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's one of those things every day, okay? But that he hit me with the triple crown today, all three, was pretty great. And I thought of you because I thought, well, you're someone who's a parent. You've had to do that, where kids have accidents of one sort or another. I'm not saying now your kids are a little bit older, but I'm just saying early on.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, exactly. Well, I'll tell you the truth. I'm looking into my future. I know there'll be a day when I wake up and, there's poop, urine, and vomit, and it's mine. Okay? I mean, I'm saying I don't exempt myself from that same situation.
Not in the nursing home. No.
No.
So this is after the cats go to college?
Yeah, after the cats go away, I will
my
just
son
be
was
left with myself.
about 2, maybe a little younger. I had to find a special sleep suit that would zip up in the back so I could put it on backwards and zip it up to keep his little hands out of his diaper.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like a little straitjacket.
Were you excited to have kids, or was it just something that everybody was doing?
No, I wanted it. It. And I waited 7 years because I tried so hard, and then I had to have IVF. So I worked for it.
Well, your kids are extraordinary. So
I hope you took pictures of the straitjacket, just for blackmail material.
Oh, I have that. Yeah.
Down the road.
Yeah.
Oprah announces her support for Dr. Oz.
No, Oprah. Why?
What?
Let me finish.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Oprah announces her support for Dr. Oz opponent, John Fetterman. That's the entire yes.
You tricked me.
She's making her voice heard, that Oprah, who discovered Dr. Oz, you'll recall. She's responsible for building up Dr. Oz. During a candid conversation, Winfrey stressed having a plan and casting one's ballot, as well as the various issues at stake in this election. If we do not show up to vote, if we do not get fired up in this moment, the people who will be in power will begin making decisions for us, she said. Decisions about how we care for our bodies, how we care for our kids, what books your children can read, who gets protected by the police and who gets targeted by the police. During the tail end of that conversation, apparently, Oprah announced her support of Democrat John Fetterman, who's running for Senate, of course, against Mehmet Oz. And, Mehmet Oz, as I say, he is a creation of Oprah Winfrey. We wouldn't even know who he was without Oprah Winfrey.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
That is not the only race that matters, Oprah says. If I was in North Carolina, it would be Beasley there. If I was in Florida, I'd be supporting Val Demings. If I was in Wisconsin, it would be Mandela Barnes. In Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto.
Mm-hmm.
In Texas, Beto O'Rourke. Raphael Warnock and the incredible Stacey Abrams, of course, in Georgia. So she goes on. There are clear choices out there and some dynamic candidates who are working to represent the values that we hold dear, the values of inclusion, the values of compassion, and community that are so dear to us. Now you're sounding like Oprah.
That begs the
in a good way.
question. It begs the question, who is having that conversation?
Yeah, exactly. Who is
having that conversation?
Thank you, John. How could I leave that out? I mean, these races are super tight. We'll talk a little bit about the midterms with Pat Thurston, who's coming in the 11 o'clock hour. Very, very cool. By the way, I'll mention again, John Rothman coming in on Tuesday on Election Day. And Michael Snyder later today, the Culture Blaster, too, just because I'm mentioning what's coming up. And can somebody tweet that we're on the air? I forgot to do that. And then I will include a link. If a listener on Twitter can, and I know we'll get to Twitter in a second, what's happening there. I mean, maybe it may be going away. At least as we know it, it's definitely going away. But if you can tweet that the show's on the air and, excited the show's on the air, Big Friday show, whatever you want to say with a link to the show, I'll retweet it. Because I was busy doing something else. We got a couple of cool pictures of people with Mark merch, and we'll share them with you in a second. But Democrats in very close races. And I was looking at a series of polls that suggest that some of these races are incredibly tight. Pennsylvania, one of them. Georgia, another. Nevada, yet another. I mean, to the point that could you really lose control of both the House and the Senate? We'll talk to Pat Thurston about that. And as I say, John Rothman next week. I'd love to get Gary back as well, Gary Dietrich. And Michael Shore is doing TYT stuff today, so I don't think he's going to be with us. By the way, I'll be on TYT later today. On their Power Panel Friday panel. So if you don't know what TYT is, they're the largest online news network in the world. So I've been doing political commentary and sitting in with them for a long, long time, and they're great. Really clean takes. We don't agree on everything all the time, but I really do enjoy being with those guys. So I'll do that later today in the, I believe it's 3 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Pacific time. Donald Trump could announce a 2024 run for president as soon as November 14th, according to sources. This is from ABC News. Trump is leaning toward announcing a third run for the White House. In Iowa Thursday night, Trump got the closest he has ever come so far to confirming that he's going to run. This is in front of a crowd of his supporters. And now, in order to make our country successful, he said, and safe and glorious, I will very, very, very probably do it again, okay? Very, very, very probably. Get ready. That's all I'm telling you. Very soon.
3 varies?
Yeah, 3 varies and a, there's never been anything like this. Is that what he wants?
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't throw in a strongly.
Yeah, you're right. Very, very, very strongly. Is Trump strong? Does Trump hit it long?
Do I hit it long?
Yeah.
Is Trump strong?
Exactly.
Huh?
The one thing he gains by running is the ability, should he win, to essentially skate away from a lot of these legal entanglements. Certainly the federal legal entanglements he can skate away from. He can even disturb things. R.J. Dunn. Is that a super sticker? Wow. Thank you, R.J. Dunn. Shout out to you.
Thank you so much.
Are we doing those now, John, or how does that work?
No,
I think Kim was eager to share the good news.
I was.
I see.
Kim, how are
He's
you?
the only one so far, and so I just kind of wanted to highlight it.
Kim, we have prescribed times to do this. We have processes and protocols and standards. I'm in the middle of something. I'm trying to keep my thoughts. It's all extemporaneous, and you throw something like that up, and I feel compelled to thank RJ.
Why are you yelling?
I'm glad I thanked RJ, but I'm just saying, let's do these at the prescribed time. Now you're just messing with me. Now I see what's going on. Yeah.
Good day, sir.
Just put the little star next to it, Kim, and we'll hold it.
Yes. Trump has filed a lawsuit against New York's Attorney General against the advice of lawyers. The case, filed in Florida, seeks to stop Letitia James's lawsuit in New York. It includes Mr. Trump's signature rhetoric. His legal advisors are split on whether or not he should do it. Those opposed to the suit told the Florida attorneys who drafted it that it was frivolous and it would fail. Well, that's never stopped them before. They're just trying to gum up the works. The loudest objection came from the general counsel of Mr. Trump's real estate business, who warned that the Floridians might be committing malpractice. Nonetheless, the suit was filed. It accuses Attorney General Letitia James of trespassing on Mr. Trump's right to privacy in Florida, where he lives. And he's trying to seek essentially a halt in the civil case that she's pursuing in New York against both his company and him personally. Twitter in a total shutdown. I mean, they're shedding most of their staff, are they not? In fact, the news out of Twitter is that they've sealed offices, and if you didn't get an email this morning, am I right that it sort of indicates you still have work?
I thought it was half of the staff, right?
Is that the number? 50% of the staff?
Yeah. Well, Elon was quoted as saying there are 10 people managing every coder, everyone who's writing software. So he's big on tech people. He's not big on managerial people.
I see. So he's essentially saying there's too much redundancy in this.
Management fluff. He wants people with technical skills.
Right. Well, what they did was essentially close down offices yesterday, and they said, "Hey, and if you're coming in, don't come in. We've sealed the offices, and unless you get an email saying that you're still here."
Wait, so they told them in advance? That must be nice.
Yeah, we didn't quite get that. We didn't get that in the at the old station.
That's a different way of doing it. Usually they notify you if you've been laid off, not if you haven't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll email you if you're supposed to come to work.
You may have already been selected.
I do think there's something that's happening, and that's and Elon Musk may be a part of this generation where it all feels like a reality show. It feels like everything's being played. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to seal all the offices. All of your cards, your key cards won't work anymore. We're only going to activate the key cards that actually work. So
We'll
you
put
can
all
come
the
to
cards
work.
in a dish.
Yeah. Right.
And then we'll pluck them out one by
The
one.
funny thing is that at Station X, they didn't deactivate our cards. So I kind of felt like I was robbed of that experience. There was no security guard, no box.
Walking you out with your...
I wasn't escorted out. I was able to come back in after lunch. I'm like, what? Come on, man.
I was looking forward to the totally you're fired experience, and you cheated me of that?
Yeah.
All right, much to come. I've got some Herschel Walker stuff. I also have Barack Obama on the stump. A little more in the way of politics on this Friday, only because the election is Tuesday. And we've got, as I mentioned, Pat Thurston coming in the next hour to hang out with us. Also, Michael Snyder, who will give us what's going on in television and movies. Mark Thompson Show live on YouTube.
The Mark Thompson Show.
So cool to have this guy in our midst. He is the great Steve Moskowitz. We welcome you warmly, Steve Moskowitz, on this Friday.
Well, thank you so much. I love being here.
We had so much reaction to what we were talking about yesterday, which was we just kind of segued into, what happens with divorces and marriages. You were talking about, before you get married, their tax concerns
such a
and
big
details.
Deal. It affects so many people.
Yeah. So today, I'm happy to talk about anything. I know ERC, the thing that worries me about ERC from a standpoint of people not contacting you and at least checking out to see whether they're eligible, is that it could go away. I mean, this is a government...
there's a statute of limitations. It's not forever. So the bottom line is it will go away if you don't apply for it. And the day after the statute of limitations, you wake up and say, you know what, I'd like to get that free money too. Then we say, well, too bad you had until this date and you blew it. There's no defense in the statute of limitations. If you blow it for any reason, like you were in a coma and that's why you blew it, doesn't matter. You have up until a certain amount of time and that's it. So the bottom line is it's free money. And what we do with each client, we do an interview. And that's so important because you want to avoid the two extremes. Some firms only say, give me your numbers. That's it. That's the easy way. We do that too. If we can do it the easy way, we will. But a lot of firms stop there and say, well, if your gross revenue didn't go down by a certain amount, no ERC for you. Next. We don't do that. If you don't qualify because your gross revenue didn't drop enough, that's okay. There's a lot of people whose gross revenue went up, but they wound up losing money. They wound up losing a lot of customers because their expenses went up. So the revenue went up, but they lost a lot of customers. There's a second test, a facts and circumstances test. We go over that with you. It's more complex. We have to sit down. Sometimes we give clients homework. Hey, I need to know this and this, get that, and call me back. And then we'll tell you either you qualify or you don't. If you don't, we'll tell you why, but you'll know it. If you do, and a lot of people do, let's get your free money, even if your gross revenue didn't drop. And also, beware of the fraudsters. There's so much fraud in this program that recently the IRS started doing all kinds of investigations. And there's a lot of companies that just popped up. They just came into existence. The only thing they do is do this ERC application. And the problem is when the IRS has a few questions to ask, they're going to be long gone. You're not going to be able to find them. We're a tax law firm. You all know me. You listened to me on the air for over 30 years. We're here for you. We practice tax law, and we want to get every dollar to which you're legally entitled. Keep you away from the two extremes, and we just want to have you benefit from this federal government program.
Yeah, exactly. You're not a fly-by-night operation, and should there be any questions about anything involving tax returns or interactions with the government, you're there. And, you know, this is something that you're well experienced in handling. So you can reach Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAXDEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. You see at the bottom of your screen. You also see his web address, MoskowitzLLP.com. You spell Moskowitz, MOSKOWITZ. And you spell LLP, LLP. It's MoskowitzLLP.com. He is our Mac Daddy, our exclusive sponsor, and I'm so proud that he's on the show because he's the real deal. Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Mark. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Why are you yelling?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's news is upcoming. I wanted to mention to you something which was absolutely clearly BS, but it's a classic cultural wedge issue related type thing that was floated by Joe Rogan. He's now recanted. When he said it, I said, this is complete wall-to-wall BS, okay? Joe Rogan admits he lied about schools using litter boxes. Remember that there was a kid who identifies as a cat, and so they made the school have a litter box in the room. That's totally, I mean, when I heard it, I thought that's a totally BS story, but it's the classic cultural BS that they try to get over on. So now he is admitting that that's not true. He walked back his claims from a month ago. Of course, those claims, and this is the problem with having a big megaphone like Joe Rogan has, those claims have reverberated. They've been repeated. They've been repeated by a lot of GOP candidates, and just also in the Republican ecosphere, they have been amplified. And there has to be a ding word in there somewhere. Ecosphere, amplified. Now, amplified isn't, but I think ecosphere would be a ding word. All right. Rogan told guest Tulsi Gabbard that his friend's wife taught at a school that had to install a litter box in the girls' room because there's a student that's a furry, one that identified as a cat. Now he's saying, I don't think they actually did it, attributing the whole situation to one wacky mother whom the school ignored. Claims that furry students are using litter boxes have been debunked over and over, but the lies persisted as a right-wing talking point. And the Republican running for office in New Hampshire repeated this. And Rogan now has recanted it, saying that, no. But again, you didn't need Rogan to recant it. It was clearly...
Would you say that he misspoke?
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry, John. I've missed our festival of apology. I misspoke.
I misspoke.
Don't you think he'd say that? Or
my words upset so many people.
Well, that's certainly true. How about I was wrong?
I was wrong, period.
Yeah, that's what he should say.
I was wrong, period.
Right. And if you want to throw in a little dash of the Asian community being apologized
and I wanted to apologize to the
fair.
Asian community, the Asian American community.
But he stands corrected.
I stand corrected.
Yes, so.
But that just goes to show people will believe it because they want to believe it.
That's right.
Just like all the conspiracies.
That's right.
We got to own the libs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of owning the libs that goes into a lot of the votes that we're going to see in the next few days, in the next week. You know, I watched that Jordan Klepper thing that our listeners and viewers had recommended, and it's alarming. But it's really what John's talking about. They reverse engineer an existing loyalty and a hatred for the libs and for what they see as the culture coming unglued as a result of liberalism, you know, about anything from, you know, gays to race. And it doesn't inform every decision, but it seems to underlie a lot of them. And I'd say that the talking points they all have the same talking points. So, and lastly, I wanted to mention this. I say lastly, just as we wrap up the first half hour before we get to Kim's news. I've got Florida coming up on the other side. And I have more stuff to get into with Pat. I'll wait for Pat Thurston's arrival to get into that. She comes in after 11. You know, we talked on this show about everybody who is American going to Ukraine to fight for Ukrainians trying to repel the Russian advance, right? And there was not a small number of people doing it. Like, it was more than just like one busload of Americans. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and it might have even passed the thousands threshold. People who felt ex-military, feeling as though there's a call here. It's a call against fascism. It's a call against a Russian expansionism. It's a call to defend freedom. You know, you heard all of these things. Well, one of those people, Skylar James Greggs, a 23-year-old from Washington State, was injured in the Ukraine war in a bomb that the Russians had launched, apparently. He has died. Skylar's father, one of his former commanders, has confirmed his death. He died a hero, is the word. He was a very brave, big-hearted man. Details as to where he died left unsaid. He died due to operational security and Ukraine's defense of the homeland. Haven't responded to additional requests for details, but this kid, 23 years old, he goes over to Ukraine, and now he's been killed. The question of what happens with Ukraine and the question of ongoing U.S. support is a legit question, and I'd love to talk about that more next week. I don't know that in this election, just because the election's right on our doorstep, it's really factoring into many people's decision-making, aside from what you're hearing along the lines of what John was saying, which is, you know, if you're looking to vote GOP, then you're looking to essentially assert that too much money is going to Ukraine and the defense of Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine is awful and getting worse. Iran sending weapons and troops. Now Israel is getting involved too. We're headed for World War III, says Nick. Well, it's a proxy war without question that America is fighting. And there's no question what you're saying, which is that the Iranians are involved, and that news is, I think it was...
Yeah, they've been sending their drones to Russia.
Yeah, it's been, I'm going to say maybe it's 6 weeks ago that started, or at least that became public. Malcolm Nance also went over to Ukraine. That's from Karen. It's a very tough balance you need to strike. On the one hand, I think you need to press for some kind of peaceful resolution. On the other hand, if you don't show strength, I don't think you get any kind of peaceful resolution or any resolution at all, potentially, with Putin. It is a fact, and I've talked about this for some time, that Putin is not going to just go, well, you know what, it didn't work out the way we thought, and pull everything back. You've seen him decimate communities, villages, cities even in Ukraine that he has now retreated from. The idea being, hey, if we can't take this territory, we'll leave this territory unusable. That's a tactic of war since the beginning of time. So the complexities when you add the alliances to which you've just referred and the support that crosses so many different international boundaries, even within NATO. Look at Turkey and Erdogan. I mean, it's very hard to pick up communications like Erdogan has a back channel communication to the Kremlin. I don't know how this situation resolves itself, and more to the point, for ongoing discussion, I don't know to what extent you need to both support Ukraine and then also press for some kind of negotiation. That's why I really did not have a problem with the letter from the progressives in the Democratic Party who were saying, hey, we support Ukraine, but we also support talks. I didn't understand why they retracted that letter and why there was all that controversy. I get it. There's not solidarity on this issue, but it's a complicated issue. Anyway, Ukraine continues to be a troubling situation, and maybe you're right. Maybe it'll turn into a much bigger conflagration than it is. Conflagration is a dingo. We have Friday Fabulous Florida next as we continue. Smash that like button like a boss. Even if you're watching in replays, please smash that like button. And Friday Fabulous Florida next. Mark Thompson Show live on YouTube.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. A longtime friend of former President Trump is being found not guilty on charges that he lied to the FBI about being a foreign agent for the United Arab Emirates. Tom Barrack also allegedly did so without prior notification to the Justice Department during the Trump administration. Prosecutors said he used his decades-long friendship with the former president to illegally provide the UAE officials with inside information. The latest jobs report shows Americans are taking home slightly more money. Woohoo! Labor Department saying average hourly earnings rose by 0.4% in October, came out to an increase of 12 cents, and the average wage is now $32.58 per hour. Pfizer says its new Omicron boosters perform better than older COVID-19 shots. Data released by Pfizer and BioNTech showing older adults who got the new booster had nearly 4 times more antibodies against the BA.5 Omicron variant than those who had the old vaccine. The new data comes after independent studies from Harvard and Columbia cast doubt on previous Pfizer claims that the shots were a major improvement over the old vaccine. And Elon Musk, as Mark was saying, says Twitter has suffered a massive drop in revenue. The new owner of the social media platform says advertisers are pausing ads on Twitter now due to pressure from activist groups. Civil rights groups are concerned Musk's emphasis on free speech will amplify extremist voices on the site. And Britain's defense ministry says Russia may be shooting deserters in Ukraine. In his latest intelligence update, it noted Russian generals likely ordered that drastic move. The ministry suggesting Russia is using so-called blocking units to prevent their soldiers from leaving the battlefield. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom delaying $1 billion in spending, urging local governments to do better when it comes to curbing homelessness in their communities. The governor arguing the plans submitted are just not aggressive enough. Together, the collective plan sent by local governments would decrease homelessness statewide by just 2% over the next 4 years. Governor says that approach is unacceptable because it would take decades to significantly reduce that issue in California. So Governor Newsom will hold the money until after a meeting with local leaders later this month to review the plans and identify new strategies that better address the homeless crisis. The police chief of the city of Vallejo just announced his resignation today. It was unexpected. Police Chief Shawnee Williams says, was Vallejo's top cop for nearly 3 years. He says he thinks he's put Vallejo PD on the right path, and he's out. Tomorrow night's Powerball jackpot reaching a new record high. It is now worth $1.6 billion. The cash value of that, just over $780 million. Yeah. The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, please give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web. It's MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
Smash it with your iron rod.
It's fantastic.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Smash it with your iron rod.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Yeah, we're all here. It's the crew. Let's recognize some folks who really helped us out. I have to say, sadly, to keep this thing going, we need your support. So thanks for the super sticker from Gail Guthrie. Thank you,
so
Gail. Yeah, very, very cool. You can leave us a super sticker. You can also leave us a super chat. Super sticker from William Guy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, William. I appreciate that very much. I'll get to some of the comments in the chat in a moment.
Do you want to see some of these merch photos?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I do want to see the merch. Thank you, fabulous producer John Daly. GetMarkMerch.com is where you can get our latest merch. And this is our hottest item. It's a limited edition KGO in Exile t-shirt, everyone.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, from Janet R. on Twitter. She posted this morning, and it's a really cool...
Here is a tweet from Mother Teresa.
Janet R. has the KGO in Exile t-shirt. She went for the black, and it looks great. Janet, very nice.
And she loves pink hair.
I know her handle is that. What is her handle, John?
At love pink hair.
No, and you can't argue with that. Who doesn't love pink hair?
Pink hair, don't
good, Janet.
Yeah, looking good, kid.
Yeah.
Nice job, thank you. And Michael McGauley. Michael McGauley got two of the Mark Thompson Show mugs, which they're original to the opening of the store online. So it's one of our classic items, if you want to think of it that way. On the back of those mugs are phrases from the show. So you can get like, Juanita's texted, or where are my weed smokers at, or whatever. I mean, it's all there. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
It's all there, black and white, clear
on the
as
back
crystal.
of the mugs. It's all right there.
Where are my weed smokers at?
So you can get one at getmarkmerch.com. It had been a site dedicated to spinning off money to animal rescue. Now it's dedicated to trying to keep the show on the air, and hopefully when we reach a certain threshold, then we can turn it back into an animal rescue site. But we're just trying to, all the ways we can, to generate enough money to stay on the air. The other way you can do it is, of course, super stickers, and there's a Patreon link at our basic website. You can, of course, go to the Patreon link, but if themarkthompsonshow.com has a Patreon button. You just hit that button, and now you're one of our patrons. We run the names of all of our patrons at the end of the show. So, themarkthompsonshow.com. William Geip for the $3 super sticker. Did I not? I thought I mentioned him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was the second one. Wow. And there you see it, themarkthompsonshow.com. Let me just wrap up my comments on Ukraine. Maybe they were misunderstood, but I also think that maybe I have disagreements with some of the people in the chat room. Mark, how can you ask for peace? This is from John Smith. Probably not his real name, but might be. I don't know.
My name's John Daly. That's like John
that's
Smith
true.
Ireland.
You're right. It could be his real name.
Why don't you just text it?
He's texted it into the chat. And by the way, even if you're watching in replay, you can still add comments, and you should add comments. As I mentioned, that helps us. So in addition to smashing the like button, adding comments gives us audience engagement, and that's another logarithm. But here's John's comment. Mark, how can you ask for peace from a terrorist country and a war crime leader that allows his troops to commit crimes against humanity, raping and torturing children? John is not wrong. The evidence as to the grotesque insanity that Russian troops have wrought on Ukraine, the evidence of that is manifest. And it includes those things to which John refers. I mean, real war crimes, torture against children, and the killing of those children, the mass graves that have been discovered as well. I didn't sanction it. And when I say ask for peace, I am looking for a way to resolve the Ukraine conflict without any more atrocities. I don't quite know how to get there. And now let me give you a comment on the other side. Bryce says, are you pro foreign wars for America now, Mark? Of course not. America, I would suggest to you, you're either an interventionist or not. Okay, great. So what would you suggest we do as we watch? Let's take this out. Let's take this out. Let's take this situation, put it to the side for a moment. Just in general, then, as a matter of foreign policy, Bryce and others, what would you have done with the advancing armies of Nazi Germany across Europe as coalitions were formed to try to fight back a fascism and a brutality that was institutionalized by the Nazis? So the ethnic cleansing that, it's just, the reason I like it as an example is because it's one we all know, okay? I mean, you can go to Kosovo, and you can go to some of these other examples that I think involve another moral imperative. But there are moral imperatives that rise to the level of needing action from the international community. So when you say you're either an interventionist or you're not, I disagree. I think that there is a lot of nuance and a lot of gray area. I really do. And I think when you see everything black and white, interventionist or not, I think you fail to see a lot of the texture of international diplomacy and a lot of these conflicts worldwide. Now, if you want to have a meeting about America and how interventionist we are, I'll have that meeting. I don't like how interventionist we are. I don't support what is essentially the export of arms to all of these different countries and theaters of war across the globe where we then retain a presence with American troops. So that's a different conversation. The disposition of this country toward getting involved, I get it. It's a troubling one. But if you're telling me that you can just turn your back on an expansionist Russian plan that goes across Ukraine and commits the kind of atrocities and destruction that we're seeing, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Again, I'm happy to have a conversation about what should be done. But interventionist or not, no. I think that fails to really acknowledge how nuanced the situation is. You can text me. I'd love your thoughts.
Why don't you just text it?
Look, it's not an easy question. So I get why we might disagree. John, do I have to do anything else before we go to Florida, or are we good?
No, we're clear for takeoff.
All right, let's do it. It's Friday. Let's do some Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Fraud hits Florida. Big time fraud. In fact, this fraud takes on many, many different examples as we get into things with a Mercedes that tipped off cops to this fraudster. Florida con man sought $23 million in property, a $132,000 Mercedes, and listen to his fraud. Elaborate lies. In the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office, they're talking about elaborate lies that caught up with this is this a, has he been convicted yet?
Are you talking about Donald Trump?
How dare you? How dare you insult an ex-president? My God.
What?
Man who is, to be honest, he's probably the most honest man that God ever created, Donald Trump. So I think you have yourself an apology to.
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps that God ever created.
You said fraud.
You're right.
You said con man.
Okay. All right. This con man was so convincing, he managed to get an invitation to the home of sportscaster Dick Vitale, where he agreed to donate $3 million to his foundation. Dick Vitale donated $3 million. This guy was a two-time felon. He was on probation using a false name, and he's still getting all of this stuff, including the $3 million donation from Dick Vitale. Deputies got the report of a series of suspicious transactions involving a man who identified himself as Robert Bonagino. Or Bonagino, maybe he says it. Bonagino hired a local realtor after claiming that he was a business owner visiting Sarasota in response to Hurricane Ian. And this guy's serving up BS like a short order chef. Bonagino, as he called himself, expressed interest in a second residential property valued at $5.2 million after looking at the first commercial property valued at $17.5 million. So this is a fraud of pretty gargantuan proportions.
This guy, wow.
Wait, fraud involving property values?
John, how dare you if you're implying...
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps, that God ever created.
And that you could insult...
Maybe he's just his role model. It's his role model.
I think you have to really have a talk with yourself about your attitude.
Oh, I do. Every day.
At the local, as the local realtor began this transaction process, so the guy wants a $17.5 million place, a commercial space, and a $5.2 million space, a residential place. He also was indicating that he was interested in purchasing a Rolls Royce. I mean, this guy is, he must be that good, because this con involves the acquisition of really expensive stuff. The realtor then connected him with a luxury car dealership, and he agreed to buy a Mercedes valued at more than $132,000.
Why not? Yeah.
While at the dealership, he mentioned his millions in assets and the need to donate money for tax purposes. The dealership manager introduced him to sportscaster Dick Vitale.
Yeah, so the donation actually went the other way. It went from this guy, allegedly. He was saying he was going to donate to Vitale's foundation.
Oh, I see. So I get it. So he didn't get the $3 million. Vitale got Vitale's charity. At least he was saying that's how he got the meeting. I'm interested in donating to your charity.
Right.
I'm serious. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. I stand corrected.
I stand corrected.
All right. Vitale, a longtime resident of Bradenton, Florida, hosts an annual gala for pediatric cancer research. Investigators didn't reveal how the man's scheme came unraveled, but suspicions were aroused when he used a different last name while signing the purchase for the agreement for the Mercedes. Detectives soon identified the fraudster as a 48-year-old Sarasota man who has 2 felony convictions and is currently out on probation for grand theft. That's right.
Hey, nice.
He was arrested and faces a single felony charge of scheme to defraud more than $50,000. So
what he's got going here is a situation.
He's in custody on a $100,000 bond. $100,000, that's no problem. I got that right on me. Meantime, on the other side of town in Florida, an attorney who fought the Florida helmet law is now dead in a motorcycle crash while not wearing, if you guessed, a helmet. Yeah. Ron Smith is 66. His girlfriend's 62. They were on their way to a funeral. How, bizarre and sad is this? A group of riders riding alongside them headed to the American Legion where there was a funeral. He was a member of ABATE, A-B-A-T-E, a brotherhood against totalitarian enactments.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Well, he died doing what he loved.
Yeah. He lobbied, and that group lobbied against the law that requires helmets. For years, they lobbied. He represents clients who ran afoul of Florida's motorcycle requirements. He's represented them in court cases, so he's a well-known lawyer and attorney for just these issues. One of the cases, by the way, went all the way to the 2nd District Court of Appeal, and it ruled that Florida's helmet law at the time was constitutional. Anyway, he's no longer with us. Died in a motorcycle crash, and
of a
they
head
were
injury.
riding of a head. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So he fought against the very thing that could have saved his life.
Oh.
Well
Kim,
done, sir. Well
that
done.
was beautiful.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, that was excellent. Did she pass away as well or not?
I
His
think
girlfriend
she was
who was on,
seriously injured or something.
but she's not. Yeah, not completely. She's still in the game. That's good.
No, she might have died too. I don't know.
Well,
To look it up.
all right. Good.
We'll have to do a follow-up.
Google it.
Yes.
Kim, how are you?
Okay. The Florida commissioner and former beauty queen is guilty of lying to see her lover in a detention facility. I love that. The heart wants what it wants. Am I right, people? So what? He's behind bars. A South Florida village commissioner and former beauty queen has been, I don't know why they throw that in except to say, hey, she's hot. I really don't know why.
It's Florida, and that's relevant there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
The
girlfriend also
would want that
died.
in the headline.
The girlfriend, now
Yeah.
Kim comes in, the girlfriend
She died.
also.
Kim, how are you?
I had to look it up. Come on.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
I'm setting up another story right now.
Okay,
We're
okay.
past that. My gosh.
Why are you yelling?
Okay, the girlfriend also died in that last story. A South Florida, we have processes and
We have
protocols.
processes and protocols and standards.
A South Florida village commissioner and former beauty queen has been sentenced to a year probation with 50 hours of community service for pretending to be a paralegal to get into a federal immigration detention center to see her romantic partner.
Well, who hasn't done that?
I love a good caper. It's pretty straightforward. Who does it harm? She wants to see her lover, if I can use that word, and he's in a detention center or prison. Juliana Claire Strout. Yeah, they have processes as well. You're right. She was sentenced in Miami federal court after pleading guilty to misdemeanor charges of attempting to entering, actually, successfully, a federal facility using fraud and false pretenses. Yeah. She was elected to the North Bay Village Commission in 2018. She's still on the commission. Her term ends next month. She's not running for re-election. Look, she's probably spending a lot of time with her boyfriend, but
Well, and she has beauty queen duties, right?
that's true. That's a very good point. Never
Those
thought
are
of
for
that.
life, I think.
Yeah. She presented officials with a letter written on letterhead from a real law firm that, claimed she was a paralegal and that was her client. But she'd never worked for the firm, and attorneys there, of course, say that they never authorized her to use their letterhead. So on one occasion, after initially being denied entry, she presented officers with her North Bay Village Commissioner badge. Yeah, you got to throw everything up against the wall and see what sticks. She explained that she was a public official and asked to enter on that basis. She won
you
the
get a badge if you're a commissioner?
Apparently you do. Now you get badges. Yeah, so it's that's a kind of...
What?
Well, it's true. The badges are... Look, if Herschel Walker can have a badge, why shouldn't a commissioner in Florida have a badge? By the way, she won Miss Rhode Island in 2009, and she did compete as Miss America as well. So...
I don't know how hard it is to win Miss Rhode Island. There's like nobody that lives in that state, right?
I thought you were going to say they're ugly.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I guess that wasn't as bad as it could have been. A Florida sheriff's canine gives birth to 10 bloodhound puppies. You know how they have the dogs that they use to do everything from search and rescue to, to finding suspects. They're announcing proudly, the Brevard County, Florida Sheriff's Office, that their bloodhound canine welcomed 10 puppies this week. Daisy May delivered 6 male and 4 female pups. Yeah. What do you send the canine that has everything on her? If you want to send a card, again, it's the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. A dog walker discovers a stolen animatronic dinosaur in Newport Richey, Florida. Police say a woman walking her dog in downtown Newport Richey, I think that's on the Gulf Coast, saw the dinosaur down an alley about 2 blocks from where it was taken. She said she'd seen a story on the news about the missing dinosaur. She called the cops. The stolen dino was set to be featured as part of a pack of hunting dinosaurs. The exhibit will feature around 100 species of life-size dinosaurs, and so they'll travel around like it's a display. They had set this up in the education center near Newport Richey, but this was stolen.
That's not fake.
No, that's not fake. That's real. And or wait a minute,
That's not fake.
It is.
That's real.
It is fake, but the story's not fake. It's real. The exhibit owners say the dinosaur had some damage, but nothing that can't be fixed. So all's well that ends well there.
Yeah, that's going to affect the resale value.
Yeah. That's as close, by the way, as we come to a reptile in today's Florida offering. Because that is Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
We have to choose a favorite. Let's see what the chat reveals. You can text in your favorite as I review them. The fraudster caught buying $23 million in property, a $132,000 Mercedes. The attorney who fought Florida's helmet laws, dying in a motorcycle crash because wasn't wearing a helmet. His girlfriend died as well, according to Kim. Isn't that what you said, Kim?
It is indeed.
The Florida commissioner and former beauty queen guilty of lying to see her lover in a detention facility. The Florida sheriff canine giving birth to 10 bloodhound puppies. And the dog walker discovering the stolen animatronic dinosaur in a Newport Richey alley near Tampa. What is your favorite? I ask you in the chat room. Let's just see a few. Helmet attorney, helmet. Lot of helmet. Lawyer who died in motorcycle accident. Attorney without the helmet, says John. Yvonne, you gotta love Florida. Yeah, it's true. Beauty queen in jail. There's one. M. Oak, helmet from Jules T. But I am seeing, it's the helmet story, another dead lawyer. As a rider, the helmet denier, says Ricky. Huh. Beth Farmer, the helmet story. Helmet seems to be leading. All right, so I ask you, the assembled mass, what do you think? Kim, what's your favorite, please?
I'm going for helmet as well.
Helmet as well?
Yeah.
John Daly?
I like stolen dinosaur in the alley.
Yeah.
That's on brand for Florida.
True. There is a lot of Florida in that story. I like the woman who posed and got the fake paperwork, so she could go see her lover in prison. Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, everyone. Yeah. I don't know. Just a thought. Pat Thurston in our second hour. We're excited to have her. Smash that like button like a boss. Woo! Smash that like button for Pat Thurston. Yeah. You want to hit the like button and
Smash it with your iron rod.
And you want to hit the bell notification, and it'll tell you when we're on the air. So that's something else I have neglected to mention. But you can jump in our chat room any old time, even after we're off the air. It is the Mark Thompson Show live on YouTube.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. New report claims there is systemic political bias against conservatives in the FBI and the Justice Department. House Judiciary Republicans released a report today that included testimony from FBI whistleblowers. The report accuses leadership in the Bureau of weaponizing its power against political opponents and purging employees who refuse to align themselves with their leadership's political ideology. The upcoming midterms, not enough to stop the feud between Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. The former president was talking on the radio yesterday when he was asked about the Democratic Party possibly using debt ceiling tactics over the next few months. Trump answered by saying that Republican McConnell should be impeached if he allows that to happen. Georgia Democratic U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock and his Republican challenger Herschel Walker deadlocked in a new poll. The latest from the Marist College poll shows each candidate at 48% when it comes to voters who say they will definitely be voting in the midterm elections. But Warnock has a slight edge when it comes to registered voters overall, 49% compared to Walker's 45%. And of course, Election Day is Tuesday. A lightsaber from Star Wars director George Lucas, a race car helmet, and an African-American Army artifact, all belonging to the late General Colin Powell, are up for auction. The items from Powell's estate currently up for auction to benefit the America's Promise Alliance and Powell's alma mater, the Colin Powell School at the City College of New York. The auction features more than 400 items and represents various interests that Powell had during his lifetime. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Who's Mark Thompson?
It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist and you are a liar.
What up, everybody? It is our big show. Oh, yeah. Great to have you all with us as we broadcast live now on this magnificent platform, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon. You can catch us in the replay as well. And regardless of when you watch, we love your support. Thank you for all your support. Barbara, is it Barnacal? Barbara, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
$20 super sticker. I like it. Thank you. It's how we keep the lights on around here with your contributions, Barbara. Really do love it. Sharon Kidd, a regular viewer and regular supporter daily. Thank you so much. Friday Fabulous Florida, love the show. I look at your coffee mugs. I'll look at your coffee mugs if you have them. Yeah. And puppies. Yes. Puppies. Tough to go wrong with 10 puppies in Florida.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sharon Kidd. Yeah, the coffee mugs, well, you can get them on the website, but you see them behind me. Referred a client to Moskowitz LLC the day before yesterday. Thank you, Rich. And thank you for the super
thank you
sticker.
So much.
The $10 donation. Appreciate that. By the way, you can I get a blue check mark verified now? With the $8 donation, Scott Gertz.
Thank you so much.
Oops, wrong platform, he says. That's Muskrats that I'm confused with. Keep up the great work, Mark and team. Yeah, really, big shout out to all of you.
Big shout out.
All of you. Thank you very much. Karen Q, a super sticker for $9.99.
Thank you so much.
It's a $9.99 nation. Thank you. Appreciate all of that. Thank you, guys. And if you're watching in replay, I'll just mention this, and I want to get to Pat Thurston. If you're watching in replay, there's a heart with a $sign right under the video. If you hit that, you can make a contribution that way as well. Super sticker from Karen Combs. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. And, of course, the super chats we'll read no matter what. Elwin with us every day. Thank you for $4.99, a $5 donation from Elwin.
Thank you so much.
Still the coolest name. Joseph Smith, 99 cents.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. And if you're one of our patrons in Patreon, and you can get the Patreon link at themarkthompsonshow.com. You got to put themarkthompsonshow.com. If you don't,
you don't have to.
If you don't put the, you end up at the splash page for a Christian ventriloquist who, again, I'd like to book for the show. You know what? This Christmas, I want that guy on the show, John. It's a holiday season. You can't book the Christian ventriloquist. You can't. If you can't, John, then that is a massive producer fail.
It would be a big get.
It would be. I mean,
whoever is producing this thing
you need
has no idea what they're doing.
Book the Christian ventriloquist, but come to themarkthompsonshow.com to visit our Patreon. Now, without any further delay, somebody who I've spoken of with effusive praise on this show and on the old KGO show. I just think she's terrific. I think we probably agree on most things. We might not agree and check literally every box on everything, but more to the point, I just love her heart, her passion. She joins us now, and we've missed her. And it's great to have Pat Thurston with us, everyone.
Hey.
Look at you. You look great. Wow, Pat Thurston. You really look glammy.
Well, really?
Yeah, I think you look really great.
I mean, it's not being yelled at and called names every day on the radio. I don't know.
You got your hair did.
I did. Oh, I did get my hair did. I did. Yeah. It was this week. I had it cut.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, you look good, girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Had to do that. I miss you guys.
Well, we miss you too.
I mean, it's so freaking weird to have so many things going on, to have an election that's coming up, to have had the January 6th Select Committee last hearing that we weren't able to really engage the listeners with on the air at KGO. It's just been so awful, just awful.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons what Pat is talking about, that I wanted to do this thing, because I just felt as though when you do this for a living, and I'm not just talking about being a broadcaster, that's one thing, but I'm talking about when you make the mother's milk of your life, what's going on in the world and in the country, and you have strong views on it, and you think you have takes that are important, and you also want a conversation with an audience, you need a place to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'd encourage you to also pursue the next thing. And I know you'll come on the show when you have the next thing. And I'm sure that there are conversations going on and stuff. And I'm not prying, but I just feel you have a voice that needs to be heard. So,
well, I appreciate that, Mark. I'm looking at different options. I'm even looking at the potential for, leaving radio, but I don't want to. I mean, it's been my life for decades, and I like it. And it also, when I first started working at KGO and Jack Swanson interviewed me, one of the questions he asked, which I thought was a brilliant question, was, why do you want to be on the air? What does it do for you individually? And he said, I don't care about, I'm important, I need to get the message out, blah, blah. He said, what's it do for you? And I told him that what it really does for me is that it forces me to be aware of what's going on, to keep abreast of everything that's happening. I mean, a lot of people pay attention to the news, but when you're hosting a show like that, you're doing more than paying attention. You're digging in. And I think it was good for me. It was just good for me as a person to give me a greater understanding of what's going on in the world. Of course, it was also frustrating and gave me nightmares.
Well, I mean, there's that too. The thing about having a show and, as you say, sort of going to school every day, right, for things you want to talk about on the show, or for information and details that you want to add to things you already talk about on the show. I think that does get in your head. I find myself constantly going, I want to share this with the audience, or I want to mention this, or wow, I should have mentioned that. I do a lot of that. Damn it. I wish I'd mentioned that. You know what I mean?
As soon as you get off the air, you're thinking that.
Yeah. And there's a pace about even this show, because I've tried to keep the show very much like the radio show. Right. There's a pace that almost brings you to the next thing. One of the things I loved about your show was you felt as though you had a little more breathing room than I feel like I had. I had a 2-hour show, and with a lot of commercials. When they used to break our podcasts out for the hour, how much actual time was there talking? Maybe 40 minutes or something like that. Yeah.
It was less. I think it was less than 30. I mean, the bottom of the hour news break was off times 9.5 minutes, sometimes
that's right.
10 minutes long. It was kind of crazy. And so that was also kind of frustrating, because we had so many commercials that one would think that, we were making money hand over fist. But, as we talked about when we did the last thing together, there were a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes that we weren't involved in, where a lot of commercials went on the air, but KGO still wasn't making any money with those commercials because a lot of them were giveaways in order to get paid advertising on other stations. There were just so many frustrations with that. And I didn't want to pay any attention to it. I just wanted to do the on-air product. I figured if we did a great product, then we leave it up to everybody else to be able to sell it, advertise it, market it, make sure that, listeners knew what we were doing and that it was worthwhile. But they weren't doing that for us.
No, I had the same view you did, which is don't get into how many people are listening. Don't get into how the station is doing. Don't get into revenue. But it was frustrating not to have stronger sales. And also, we took a station, by the way, we always talk about the ratings. We had, decent saleable ratings. And trending up. And both you and I had really strong numbers in our show. I used to get the emails, and I really didn't try to pay a lot of attention to it, but you do want to know, are we trending up? Are we trending down?
Right.
And we were trending up. But you do need a commitment on the sales side, and it just didn't seem as though there was that anymore. And, that can be informed by other things, to be fair to everyone. they had big numbers to hit for what they were paying for the Giants, what they're paying for the Niners. So, you're trying to hit those numbers too, and there's sales incentives associated with that. So I get what a tough spot it is, especially when you're selling a cluster of stations. But, Pat, at WABC, which was a Cumulus station, just to talk for a second, because we both had the shared experience, then we can talk politics. At WABC, it was a Cumulus station in New York.
Okay.
They sold that station. And I forget how much they sold it for. Maybe, Kim, you can look
Google
it. Yeah, I think it's, but they sold it to a rich guy. And that rich guy, now it was the same deal. Can't make any money. WABC isn't what it used to be. It used to be a dominant thing. Blah, Rush Limbaugh. Now he's not there anymore. Blah, blah, blah. They sell WABC to a rich guy. And now he has staffed up sales and they are crushing it.
Yeah.
They have a highly successful talk station at WABC now, and they're all making money.
Right.
The same thing could have happened at KGO potentially, but my point in mentioning it. What? Did you hear the cat? There's something going on. There's something awful going on. Oh my God.
You need to go take care.
I kind of need to check on this.
You should check on the kitty.
It's okay. Pat can fill in for you because
Pat
we got
for
the
me
talk
for a
show
moment.
host right here.
I've never had this happen. This is unbelievable. But I've got a very sick animal, so let me just check quickly.
Go look at your kitty and
Pat handled this. Anyway, I'll
it.
talk soon. Okay, we'll be right back. All right.
So
I actually do want. I do want to talk to you because I just read that story about Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker being in a dead heat. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah. I think that's an excellent question. And it's not just there. In Arizona, Carrie Lake, how does Carrie Lake have the kind of numbers that she has? One of the things that kind of surprises me about the electorate is that they voted for Joe Biden. They voted for him. Joe Biden won the election. People came out in droves during the presidential election. Since that time, the Republicans, and particularly the people who are, that we're wondering how on earth are people supporting these individuals, they have pushed this big lie that the election was fraudulent. So essentially what they're doing is they're election deniers. They are denying that the people who voted for Biden voted for Biden. Why aren't those people outraged? And why aren't they coming out in droves for this election to say, oh yeah, you think you're going to deny my vote? Well, watch this sucker. And they're just not doing it. And I'm not exactly sure why. You look at Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, the caliber of the individuals that we're talking about is just night and day. When did it happen that character no longer became something that people in the United States cared about when it came to the people who were running our government? Character used to be something that we really did care about. And I'm wondering if the problem lies with the media. That the media, and it was just same thing with Trump, that because Herschel Walker is, can I say shit?
Yeah, I prefer you not, but let's try to keep it broadcasty. But that's okay. You said it, so don't worry about it.
But he's you have to dump that, John Daly. So I mean, he's a clown. It's a clown show instead of the S word.
They're looking at their social media.
Yeah.
But because it's a clown show, he gets all the media attention.
That's right.
How many times do you see stories about Raphael Warnock, who is a really good person, who's doing really good things as a senator from Georgia? How many times do you hear stories about that? But every single day, it's Herschel Walker, Herschel Walker, Herschel Walker. And you know what they've always said, Mark? There's no such thing as bad publicity.
And you know something, I really love that you've identified this because this was the Trump syndrome. Everybody wanted to cover Trump because he was such a train wreck. He would say anything. He would insult minority groups. He wouldn't apologize. He doubled down. That was in the ramp up to the election. He got all the media coverage despite the fact that, Bernie Sanders was pulling bigger crowds as a populist candidate. Okay, this was with Hillary Clinton running against Trump. But Walker is stupefyingly awful and incompetent as a candidate. It is grotesque how we have now, as you've suggested, the culture of politics has now become so celebrity infested that his high profile, and by the way, it was always that name recognition, okay? But there was always you felt a presumption of importance that is ascribed to competence. And this guy can't even spell policy, you know. Yeah. But I don't know that Trump could spell policy, meaning there was no policy philosophy underpinning anything Trump viewed as important, right? He just viewed himself as important. And I think that's true with Walker. He's doing the heavy lifting for the Christian right.
Yeah.
I've listened to a bunch of his speeches. It's Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I love that, you know, there's nothing wrong with Christianity and Jesus and all of that stuff. But when you're using it as cover for really not understanding anything, I think it's a very dangerous thing. And it's unfortunately an effective ploy.
This is a problem within the entire Republican Party. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, she even lost all of her committee assignments because she was such a train wreck, because she was so awful. Look at her. She won the primary. She's going to win in the election. And you look at Lauren Boebert. You know, you look at some of these candidates who are just horrific individuals. Since when did the Republican Party become the party that is anti-police, certainly the Capitol Police, that's anti-abiding by the law when you look at the lawbreakers within their party, that is anti-integrity, and because they're hypocrites when it comes to the Christianity that they claim to embrace. I mean, this guy, Herschel Walker, you know, I'm all for I'm pro-choice. I'm all for women's reproductive rights. There's no question about that. He's not. Herschel Walker is not. And when the information comes out, not by just one woman, but by multiple women, that he's paid for their abortions, he huddles with this religious right and comes away with their stamp of approval on him.
Yeah,
it's still not admitting his involvement here.
And as I've said before, I have no problem if you want to pay for women the abortions, and you know, if women you've been involved with get abortion, I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with you but don't tell me about your abortion position, as you've said, Pat. You know, Walker has such an inflexible abortion position, you know, even in the case of rape and incest, to kind of put a sharp edge on it. But here's a little of Walker on the stump, and it's important because I can't believe they're in a dead heat. Walker may actually beat Warnock for that seat.
I know.
And as God got me up, my mom said I was big bone. You know what that meant? That I was fat. And then I used to have a speech impediment where I couldn't put a sentence together. But because of the grace of God, God got me up to go to the University of Georgia. And then, no. And then I got a chance. I'll
remind you, he lied about graduating top of his class at the University of Georgia, where he didn't even graduate. I mean, again, it's not like you're allowed not to graduate college. You're allowed not to go to college. Right. But don't say that you graduated top of your class at University of Georgia when you dropped out.
Heisman Trophy. And then I got a chance to go to the 1992 Olympic team. And then I got a chance to play 15 years of pro ball. But then all of a sudden, let me tell you this, sometimes God got to break you to build you back. Because what happened to me is something happened. I'll tell you, I never drank before in my life. Never tasted beer. Never had any alcohol. Never had any drugs in my system. Don't even take medicine.
You see how these these stump speeches, what I was going to say, but Trump did the same thing, where they kind of meander and you're not even into policy at all. And it's just about, aren't those people, the liberals, the Democrats, aren't they awful? And as long as we agree on that, the rest of it is all just fill.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, he's just talking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, but he's a policeman too. You know, he's.
Right.
All of a sudden, I realized that somebody told me I had a mental problem. I go, mental problem? How in the world can Herschel Walker have a mental problem? I'm talking about myself in third person, but I know that. And all of a sudden, I had to go to this hospital. So that's when I said God had to break you to build you back. Because then he washed me in the blood of Jesus. Because that's when I came back up. Because he said he need a warrior. Because I'm getting ready to go against a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what I'm getting ready to go against. This man here that I'm going against try to separate my family. Because I don't know if you've seen what he said. He said America need to apologize for its whiteness. And I said, well, America has apologized for its whiteness, but what we've done now is we're trying to get a vote and take you down in that elevator to fool you. Because what is happening to us is you've forgotten about the people that elected you to go to office.
So you get the deal. You know?
Not that he's stupid.
Well, but I'd also suggest he's along the way, he's hitting important cultural things that might resonate culturally. Okay.
Yeah, racism.
So,
yeah.
Racism. And I would suggest in the Deep South that whole story of God and God building me back up, and all the more times you can mention God and Jesus, the better there.
Yes, but if you're really a Christian, if you're really religious, and especially if you are a Black evangelical, for example, you should be drawn far more to the Reverend Raphael Warnock than you are to the football player and liar Herschel Walker. I mean, it makes sense. Raphael Warnock is a brilliant individual who is committed to God, who has been committed to God, who has been the pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, the same church that Martin Luther King was the pastor of. He has been that, and he continues living a life of Christianity, of love, walking in the steps of Jesus. And yet this guy comes in, this false prophet, and they're so fooled by it. Because of what? Because of the white evangelicals who have really turned their back on Christ, and instead they're pursuing this religious fervor of theirs, which results in fascism. If they succeed, it's fascism. And I don't think Jesus Christ would have voted for fascism.
Yeah,
I have a question.
the Jesus. Yes, of course. Kim McAllister, everyone.
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead,
yes.
Kim. please.
I wanted
Kim, how are
to put to Pat, what do you think about the pitting of women's rights against the economy in this election?
Yeah.
Either your rights, you're going to row your vote, or you're more concerned about the economy. And if you're concerned about inflation, high gas prices, that's the way you vote Republican. And if you're concerned about reproductive rights, you vote Democrat. Do you think that's true?
I need you to hold that response before you answer. I've got to quickly just check in with Steve Moskowitz, who is our sponsor, keeping the lights on. I do want to address that because it's amazing to me. Yet I did predict it, that the Roe effect would evaporate. I said it over and over, and I want to get your impression on Roe and the economy and what will take precedence with the voters. So we're so happy Pat Thurston is with us, and a quick check-in with Steve Moskowitz, and then we'll get back to
The Mark
Pat.
Thompson Show.
He is Steve Moskowitz.
Pat, how great to see you.
Yeah, that's right. Let's put Pat. Can we put Pat back in to say hi to Steve?
Hi, Steve Moskowitz. I miss talking to you.
I miss talking with you, and as you know, I want to talk with you again.
Yes, and we will.
Oh,
good. I'm looking forward to
that.
I don't know what's going on between those two, but now I'm getting uncomfortable. All right, all right, Pat. We'll talk to you in a moment. Steve, I do want to get with you and talk taxes. We talk about ERC, and we talk about it repeatedly because I think it represents such great potential for people. But of course, you handle individual taxes and corporate taxes and business taxes and all the situations that might result from mistakes that people have made or not paying their taxes. I mean, these are all issues that you can handle quite routinely sometimes in your business at Moskowitz.
That's right, Mark. We're a firm that handles everything in tax. And those are common problems. People don't file tax returns for years. People can't pay their taxes. They're being audited, or they need advice. I'm thinking about doing this. What's the best way to do it? Because what you don't want to hear from somebody is, oh, too bad you did it that way. So we give tax advice, tax planning. Here it is, November. Next month's the end of the year. Well, rather than engaging what I call March Madness, which is, I'm not talking about college basketball. I'm talking about you're mad because you owe so much in taxes. Now's the time to do something about it with tax planning. And if you take a look at Apple Computer, that pays less taxes than mom and pop corner grocery store, you'll see that the head of Apple says that he spends a lot of time talking with the Apple tax lawyers about doing this. That's what we do for much smaller business. And ERC is great. The federal government is giving away up to $26,000 for every employee that an employer has. And it's a gift. It's not a loan. They just give you the money. And there's a lot of confusion here because there's two ways to qualify. The easy way, which is a certain drop in gross revenue. And the bottom line is We start that way too. If you qualify in the easy way, sure, we'll do it. But a lot of firms stop there and say, well, that's it. Your gross revenue didn't drop enough, and goodbye. There's a second way, and the law says either or. The second way is a facts and circumstances test. And we go over all that with you. How you've been affected by the COVID restrictions. On the other hand, you want to avoid, like the plague, the scamsters that are committing frauds in your name doing an ERC. So we're a tax law firm. We've been in tax practice for over 30 years. We're here for you. We want to get you every dollar to which you're legally entitled and make sure you steer clear of trouble.
You can reach Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. You can call him at that number and say, hey, I saw you talking to Mark, and I have this situation. Can you help me? 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also reach him online, Moskowitz, LLP, Moskowitz, LLP.com. Steve, love seeing you. I'm glad you had a chance to say hey to Pat.
Always a pleasure. It was a great pleasure for me too with Pat.
All right. Have a good weekend, Steve Moskowitz. Thanks, man. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thanks to all the different ways you help us out with our YouTube show. This is our second week, isn't it, John? I forget what is it, Kim? Our second?
3.5.
Third week?
3.5.
3.5 weeks. Wow, that's really great.
Smash it.
With your iron rod. Women, don't forget. Has Courtney ever forgotten your slights, Mark? That's from Jim Avila with a super chat. Wow. Thank you very much, Jim Avila. 1999. It was almost worth getting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Young Thug is here.
Getting taken out. Thank you, Jim. But I want to get back to Pat on just that point. Do women represent a real potential to vote for Democrats in this midterm because of what happened with Roe at the Supreme Court level and what may likely happen with reproductive rights beyond Roe? I mean, as you're well aware, I mean, contraception could be at risk.
That's right. Jim is right. Jim
Yeah.
said he made the point that women's voter registration has skyrocketed. And in terms of early voting, according to Michael Moore, and who of us can doubt Michael Moore? According to Michael Moore, in the early voting numbers, women have outpaced men substantially. So that bodes well for Democrats. Look, the economy, remember Bill Clinton and it's the economy, stupid? Of course, people vote according to the economy. The Democrats have not done a very good job of explaining how the economy got to where it is, the result of the pandemic in particular, and what the United States, in comparison to the rest of the world, has done successfully in order to get the economy on the right track. We know that 260 jobs, I think, were created this last month. We know that jobs are good, unemployment is down, wages are up, but we also know that inflation is cutting into all of that. And that's what people are paying attention to. I notice it when I go to the grocery store. Gas prices are beginning to come down, finally, but they're not where they should be, not by a long shot. But, Democrats really need to be out there talking about this in terms of what have the Republicans told you they're going to do that's actually going to make a difference in the economy, because they're not talking about policy. They're talking about cultural things. They're talking about voters' dissatisfaction. They're talking about how Biden wasn't able to solve inflation, that he wasn't able to do something about the economy that comes to the level of putting us completely back on track. And so the Republicans are offering nothing. They're offering nothing in terms of policy, nothing whatsoever. Democrats have. And who has stood in the way? It's been the Republicans. They've stood in the way all the way through when the Democrats are proposing legislation. And then, of course, we have those two outliers, Kirsten Sinema and that idiot Joe Manchin. We have those people who have also blocked the things that Democrats were attempting to do that really would have put us on a better track to battle all of this. But there's more. So women are coming out in droves to vote. You know who's not? Young people. And that stuns me. particularly since it's the GOP that is mounting these lawsuits against the Biden administration, who's attempting to assist people with their student loan debt. It's a very minor amount. It's only $10,000 for most people. It's the Pell Grant people who potentially could get up to $20,000. But in the grand scheme of things, the amount of student debt that's burdening people, it's small, but it is significant. And I'm stunned that college campuses around the country are not rife with people who are screaming about this and registering people to vote and getting them out to vote so that Democrats can maintain power, increase their power, and give them a modicum of assistance. And at least the Democrats are putting forth policy issues. Did you see the debate with, what's his name? Ryan? I mean, he so blew away his opponent because his opponent sounded like an idiot. J.D. Vance sounded like a complete fool. He had nothing to say. And Ryan had so many policy issues and facts and was the person who any sane person would say, this is the person who should be representing us.
The only person who on the GOP side who I think speaks so well, not about policy, because as you say, the policies are indefensible and they're not well articulated at all, and if they exist at all. But I think that Carrie Lake is scary because she's very media savvy. She used to be an anchor on television, I think, for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Now she's running for what she is. Yeah, she's really brutal. I wanted to play you a little bit of Obama on this stuff because I think the Democrats do have a messaging problem. And boy, it reminds you how good at messaging and running for office and articulating things Barack Obama is. Here he was on the stump, I think it was just yesterday.
The other day, a video came out of Governor Whitmer's opponent claiming that Democrats have been working for decades to topple the United States because they're still upset about losing the Civil War. And that COVID restrictions were part of some master plan to do this. Now, first of all, what?
I mean, that's just, you don't have that. Nobody's got that.
Instead of coming up with a story about how us having to watch Tiger King in our sweatpants was somehow some kind of government plot, imagine if she spent some time coming up with some ideas to create more jobs here in Michigan, or to give folks more health care, or to improve our schools. That's what you want from the governor of your state.
And you see, that's why he is such a powerful figure. And honestly, the Democrats, and we've seen it in the chat, everybody's saying, Democrats don't message well, Democrats don't message well. Right. It is messaging. I mean, it is an environment. And honestly, the Republicans have really staked out some pretty high ground media-wise. Fox News still has tremendous hold on many people. I'm talking about voters, not just viewers.
Right.
Because the older population does vote, and the older population watches a lot of Fox News.
That's right. That's right. And so they succumb to all of these lies. But you know what I always thought too, Mark? I always believed that the older generation believed in democracy. And so that's one of the, and democracy, when you look at, when the polling tells us what people are most interested in, Kim's right. The economy is number one. Roe is up there, but it's not the top issue, but it is an issue and an important issue. Who doesn't care about, I care about the economy.
Oh, it's important, but it's a question of whether people seem to be prioritizing the economy. This is not a surprise. We know it's the economy.
They're prioritizing the economy wrong, because if you're going to prioritize the economy, by all means, prioritize it. Who is better suited to do something about it? Republican administrations, when it comes to the economy, have not done particularly well in the United States of America.
Well, they're about tax cuts, the Republicans in general, and they talk infrastructure. I actually thought Trump actually might be able to push through an infrastructure plan, but of course he abandoned it. Just went for the tax plan. The guy who actually did an infrastructure plan, not even as much of a wish list as I had, or even that he had originally, but Joe Biden, he actually got it through. I got to give the guy credit.
Right, even with a divided Senate the way it was. I mean, this, and with Trump, it's like Roe used to be for the Republicans. Infrastructure was a great campaign issue. And then you have infrastructure week 30 times during your administration. It used to be that way with Roe, that we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. We're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. So they got all the white evangelicals on board with that idea, where most Republicans, people in power, I thought really weren't interested in overturning Roe. They needed it as a campaign issue for their base. Now that they have succeeded with their Supreme Court confirmations, the people on the court who are so right-wing, now they've succeeded in overturning Roe, it well could come back and bite them in the ass. Because the economy, as important as it is, that being your number one issue doesn't mean that you're voting Republican. That being your number one issue means you're thinking to yourself, who's better equipped to do the right thing and bring us out of this? It's really not the Republicans that you can't name a policy that the Republicans have that are going to suddenly turn this economy around and, make a loaf of bread 25 cents. You can't.
It's not a policy thing. It's not a policy driven election. Sadly, I think it's going to be an anger driven election, the same thing or a frustration driven election. And I've got to wrap up, but to the point on young people, I'd love for you to come back regularly. It'd be great if you've got time. But anyway, I on the point on young people, I just want to quickly say that frustration, I think, fuels some of what you're talking about, a basic disgust with the system. They get it. It's a rigged system. Why are there only two parties? You could certainly open up the hood on the lack of real representation for voters. How is it that that one candidate loses the popular vote for president time and time again, and then somehow still ends up as president? I mean,
and the money is an important factor. And then you've got
money is
like Donald Trump now announcing that he's going to announce his candidacy, but for what reason? To avoid prosecution, because he's a criminal.
And to generate more money. All right, Pat, please join us again. Would you? Can you stop through? Yeah, I think this has been good for both of us in our relationship.
We love you, Pat. Love you,
the love that you're getting in the chat room. Go back and watch the
Thompson.
Watch the video.
Courtney, give Courtney my love, please.
I will indeed. All right, and the best to your family too. Pat Thurston, everybody. Right on.
Yeah,
love it. Good stuff. We'll take a quick break for Kim's news. We'll make it a kind of a shorty newscast because I've got Michael Snyder standing by, and we'll find out television, movies, all still happening. So. Snyder will be in next. Thanks, everybody in the chat room. Thanks for smashing the like button for Pat Thurston. As we continue, Mark Thompson Show live on YouTube.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Lottery players dreaming big with a record $1.6 billion Powerball jackpot up for grabs in Saturday's drawing. Brisk ticket sales being reported, with people in some states that don't have a lottery crossing the border into other states to buy tickets. This now is the largest Powerball jackpot. President Biden and former President Obama set to be in Philadelphia this weekend to campaign for Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman. A poll out this past week shows Fetterman, is the Democrat in the race, is in a virtual tie with Republican Mehmet Oz in the race for the Senate. Meanwhile, former President Trump is set to hold a GOP rally tomorrow at the Arnold Palmer Airport east of Pittsburgh. Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech launching a clinical trial on a vaccine targeting both COVID and the flu. It's a combination of the bivalent Omicron-specific COVID booster available now and Pfizer's flu vaccine that's in phase 3 trials. The results available next spring. More developments in the California attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband. The 82-year-old man waking back up now at his San Francisco home exactly 1 week after a man broke in and hit him with a hammer. And Pelosi was released from the hospital yesterday. Today, the suspect due back in court. A judge set to decide if David DePape will be eligible for bail. Former sheriff of Santa Clara County now banned from ever holding public office again. That's Lori Smith's punishment for being found guilty on all charges in her civil corruption trial. A new defense intelligence report on UFOs expected to be released in the next few days. The report describes recent incidents, identified flying objects, and the explanations behind the sightings, including drone flights and weather balloons. And because it's America, Light is selling a tree stand that doubles as a beer keg.
Yes, whoa. Stop. Repeat that. I lost it all. What was it? Say it again. She dropped out. Say it again, Kim?
Miller Lite is selling a Christmas tree stand that doubles as a beer keg.
I love that. Just love it. Love it.
So it's a table that can hold a Christmas tree on top, has enough room for a keg underneath. It's about $50, goes on sale next week. Miller Lite calling this a very limited edition, your Christmas tree stand beer keg.
America.
Love America. Yeah. This report sponsored
I'd be willing
by
to bet
attorney
my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call, 888-TAX-DEAL, or catch him online at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
You found The Mark Thompson Show. You lucky mother.
What up, everybody? Great to have everybody in the room. Michael Snyder in a moment. We want to recognize all of you who've been so generous today. Here's a word avalanche for you. Here's a word avalanche for you. Say I submit a request to the government to start a new religion based on the fathers of aviation. It's my right to write rights, right? I get what you did. And I give you a big shout out. Well, wait, where's my big shout out? Oh, hang on a second. I'll tell you, my guy. A big shout out.
Big shout out
to Xfires57. Thanks for $50 and that super chat for the right to write the rights.
Right.
It's a right. Ed Salazar, $20. Thank you so much, Ed, regular listener, viewer, and contributor. Yeah. Lena Lopez, $10. Thank you, Lena. Shout out to Lena on the super sticker. Brian Reich with $18. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. We do want to recognize on this Friday everybody who's making contributions. $10 from Lulu Lancaster. $10 for Pat's S word.
Thank you so much.
Pat did let the S word go today, Michael. She's, yeah. John Anderson says $10. Everybody, please vote. Thanks, John, for that contribution and for supporting the show and all the ways you do. Joe Box says $9.99. Mark, which former KGO host cursed the most? My money is on Pat.
Thank you so much.
On the air or off the air?
Yeah.
I'm going Ron Owens.
On the air or off the air?
Ron had off the air, we're talking about, right? Well, on the air, you couldn't cuss at KGO, could you?
Well, it's happened before.
Yeah, but I mean...
what the hell is going on in the United States of America?
I will buy
Shout out to Corral.
Yeah. I will buy Pat Thurston's love. Noe Marie. Yeah. Right on, Noe. I love it. Thank you very
so
much. Susie Hoffman with a $4.99.99 super sticker.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mike Ekstrom with a $4.99 super sticker.
Much.
Thank you, Mike. All of you with super stickers today. Thank you very much. If you're watching in replay, you can make a contribution to support the show that way by going to the heart with a $sign in it. And that is the way that we get money from YouTube. You can also be part of our Patreon family. All the patrons are scrolled at the end of the show. We'd love for you to be one of them. Go to our website, which is themarkthompsonshow.com, and click on the Patreon link and be one of our patrons and support this show. It's how we stay in business. And now, a guy who you can see knocking around San Francisco in the Bay Area, writing for the Marina Times, always cranking out those columns. He talks movies, he talks TV, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. It's Michael Snyder, everyone.
Hey, good morning, everyone out there in electronic digital land. And I have it under good authority that Nikki Maduro curses like a sailor, both on and off the air. I hear.
Does Nikki have that in her? No.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Maybe it's not as good an authority as you thought.
No, maybe I'm right.
Kim, how are you?
I defer to you, Kim. Anyway, hey, listen, I want to start off by letting everyone know that contrary to rumor, I am not going to be doing a sex toy consumer report segment called Smash It With Your Silicon Rod.
How dare you?
Smash it with your iron rod.
Hit that like button.
Silicon, a little softer, a little more gentle.
I got it.
Anyway, oh my God. Election day is coming up, and I want people to vote their
Oh my
conscience.
God.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, I've already voted, and I got notification via email from the California Director of Voter Fraud. I have no idea what it is. Somebody sent me an email. It could have been you, Mark.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes.
But November's here. One quick note. You know, Halloween in San Francisco is so much fun, and I hit a lot of clubs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I ran wild and stuff. But in Los Angeles, my friend Jill, J-Flo, as we like to call her, knocked it out of the park with her Halloween costume. On Monday night, she donned a comic book accurate Batgirl costume, which I found really detailed and very much like the image of Barbara Gordon, a.k.a. Batgirl, from the 60s and 70s, only she wore a sash across her costume that said $90 million. And
that's a reference. Explain that reference.
Right. Either you get it or you don't. Anyway.
But no, explain it, though.
She's more than a superhero. The Batgirl movie that was... painstakingly shot and, put together for HBO Max and Warner Brothers.
It cost them $90 million.
Cost them to this point. I don't think they had gone into full post-production. And the new head of Warner Discovery, this horrible merger monster that has cut so many different creative endeavors and spiked them, essentially. This guy's a bean counter. He's clearly an empty suit. Anyway, they killed the Batgirl movie, even though they had already spent $90 million on it. And, Jill's commentary on how corporate think by soulless bean counters can pee all over creatives it wasn't lost on me. Either you get it or you don't get it. But a few people on Santa Monica Boulevard, where she went to fight crime, she was out there fighting crime.
You can be pretty busy. But I also think that in a show business town, probably that's even more. That's terrific. You should send that to me and I'll post it.
I will.
These media mergers, I've said it before, there's nothing good that emerges from them. Nothing good at all. And they steamroll the creative process, and you've just identified one instance. I have very little time. I'm anxious to hear from you. Get it going, Michael Snyder.
I shall do so. We have a few movies we want to talk about because anything other than talking about the Warriors right now, Armageddon Time, with a title inspired by a song from the punk rock band The Clash, is something new but old insofar as it's a fictionalized memoir from one of my favorite contemporary filmmakers, James Gray, who was the guy that made The Yards, a crime drama about an ex-con who takes a job at the New York City train yards. The Immigrant, a very dark film about the experiences of a Polish woman in New York during the early 1920s. And my favorite of them, We Own the Night, which is about a family torn between law enforcement and the gangster life again in New York City. The gritty tenor of those movies can still be felt here and there in Armageddon Time, but this seems like a far more personal movie for Gray. It's a smart, sensitive look at growing up in the New York area suburbs during the early 80s Reagan years. You remember Ronald Reagan?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so very much about the Reagan times. And not only is this a coming-of-age story about a sensitive kid named Paul, whose parents are assimilating first-generation American Jews, it's a look at the tragedy that's implicit in the anti-Semitism, racism, and classism that all still dog American society right now. Despite all the supposed strides we've made, these are still issues that bedevil us, I certainly recognize my mother and father and grandparents in the people on screen, too.
Oh, really?
I got to say.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway plays mom. Jeremy Strong plays dad. And Anthony Hopkins is the beloved grandfather. And they were all letter perfect in this movie. And it's actually anchored by an impressive performance by a young actor named Michael Banks Repeta. He plays Paul. Some are going to call this thing scattered due to its episodic nature. Others may call it self-indulgent in its moments of sentiment and overly familiar in its generational clash between parents who want their child to take a certain path to success, that isn't what the kid is designed to take. So there's that push and pull going on as well. He's the sensitive artist type, pubescent. Anyway, the scattershot approach is more reflective of life, a series of moments. The sentiment is never baldly sentimental, and the family conflicts are timeless and moving, even though it does intermittently trade on nostalgia for the period, the emotional heart, and the sociological elements that basically drive Armageddon Time assure its relevance, and it's in theaters. This guy, James Gray, makes great movies.
Wow. So you like it in theaters. Okay.
I did.
What else do you have?
Let's see what else is on the docket, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Another good film. How about this?
Wow.
Causeway is an intimate interpersonal drama that serves as a lovely showcase for star Jennifer Lawrence, who kind of plays against type here. She's vulnerable and damaged and drifting as a soldier back from Afghanistan and fighting PTSD as she tries to readjust to civilian life in her hometown of New Orleans. I love New Orleans, and so the setting here was already a mark in favor of the movie. And co-star Brian Tyree Henry is equally wonderful as a burly ball of pain and tenderness. He plays a NOLA garage owner who's been through some serious stateside trauma and tries to keep his angst under wraps. These two lost souls, whose differences are palpable, even as they wrestle with certain similar issues, strike up an unlikely friendship, and the way they navigate their problems and confront their respective lingering issues from the past is the essence of Causeway. Director Lila Neusbauer brings us deep into the characters' personal journeys. It's just great work by Lawrence and Henry, makes us care about their individual well-being and their rapport. Lawrence, in particular, gives a restrained but rich performance that has moments of stillness covering up the turbulence below. You know how people try to repress PTSD, some try to, and you can see that going on here. As a result, any true peace that she achieves in the movie seems even more gratifying. Causeway is in theaters and streaming on Apple Plus TV.
Wow, it does sound like an important movie, complex, and palpable, by the way, is a ding word.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I had to throw that in there. How about some fun? How about some fun where people can gather around the TV like it's an old radio back in the 30s?
I love it.
And the entire family can
bring
enjoy.
it on.
Where are my weed smokers at?
No, not that kind of.
The sequel to this surprisingly delightful Enola Holmes, adapted from author Nancy Springer's young adult book series that invented a kind of a plucky, brash younger sister for the great Victorian age detective Sherlock Holmes, is simply entitled Enola Holmes 2, and that's the only pedestrian thing about this brisk, well-appointed period movie, mixing mystery, thrills, whimsy, a frisson of teen romance.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Frisson is like 2 dings, probably.
And a little progressive politics.
Yeah.
It's first-rate family entertainment. Kim, keep this.
Yeah.
Well,
How about
you turned me on to the first Enola Holmes, and I'm so grateful because it was such a good, like, girl positive type of movie to watch with the family. So I'm really interested in this one. Thanks, Michael Snyder.
Well,
Kim, how are you?
This review is dedicated to Kim McAllister and her family.
Yeah,
anyway,
all right.
can we do that? Anyway, this is really great family entertainment from Netflix, and it is as charming and sprightly as its young star, Millie Bobby Brown. Precocious Millie, she had the role as the telekinetic pubescent 11 in the sci-fi series Stranger Things, which still has one more season to go. That was her breakthrough, but she's back as Enola, busy trying to set up her own detective agency in the shadow of her increasingly famous big brother, whose acclaim as a detective is in its early days in this movie. If the easy pleasures of these two Enola Holmes movies are any indication, Millie has a franchise of her own in progress, and she's been joined both times by Henry Cavill as the quite proper, ever thoughtful, and insightful Sherlock. Get this, Cavill's been Superman, Napoleon Solo, The Witcher, and now Sherlock Holmes. I mean, what's next for this guy? Robin Hood, Tarzan, James Bond? Come on. The guy's got a corner on the iconic hero market. and he's pretty cool in this. And you get Helena Bonham Carter back, as well as Adoria Holmes, the siblings' proto-feminist mom, and a wacky treat to see, as usual. And the fantastic David Thewlis is here as a nasty police superintendent from Scotland Yard who has no great love for any Holmes. The plot involves Enola solving the disappearance of a girl who was slaving away with other girls in a London matchstick factory while exploring a tentative romance with a handsome upper-crust boy from the first movie. These dire working conditions and the treatment of the era's women give Enola Holmes 2 some substantial snap, and serious elements aside, it's a fun romp that celebrates Sherlock and elaborates on his world and gives us a chance to enjoy Millie Bobby Brown as she rambles further hither and yon on the streets and alleys of the British capital. She's dodging peril. She's saving the day. Directed by Harry Bradbeer, the same guy who did the first film, and he also co-wrote both movies with Jack Thorne. Enola Holmes 2, absolute fun.
Is that out today?
I think Arthur Conan Doyle would probably dig where his original creation has gone here.
It's been, I mean, it evolved, the Sherlock Holmes franchise, to all of these places. It became like an action character, and this seems like it's really cool based on what you're talking about. And Kim loved the first one.
Is that out today?
Sheer fun. Yes, you can watch it this evening.
Yeah.
Where would I watch it this evening, Michael?
Netflix. As I said, this is a Netflix production, and it seems pretty opulent for such a streaming.
Opulent is definitely a ding word.
Streaming film. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I enjoy you, Michael Snyder, and I wish we had more time. We had a special visit from Pat Thurston. We hope we're going to get her back. We will get her back again. But today it just squeezed us a little bit. But I want to review your reviews.
Okay.
Enola Holmes, you've just said you like it. It's Enola Holmes 2. It's got mystery. It's got twists. It's got turns. Kim liked the first one. Fun for the whole family. Causeway, the Jennifer Lawrence centered PTSD drama. She's a soldier who's returned from fighting. She connects with Brian Tyree Henry. You like that very much. That's in theaters only right now.
True. No. It's on Apple Plus.
Okay, this is my favorite part where I tell you where it is and then you correct me. Yeah. So it's on Apple Plus and in theaters. Is that right, Michael Snyder?
Yeah, okay. That's absolutely correct.
Causeway.
Thank you for paying attention.
That's called Causeway. And Armageddon Time, the James Gray film. You liked it.
He's a hell of a filmmaker.
Wow. You can read Michael Snyder in the Marina Times,
where you can see my treatise and mini reviews on various women who are coming to the forefront as stars in a bunch of current films that are knockouts.
That's cool. And treatise is a ding word. I am always delighted when you come and visit us. You have good information. We'll talk about Warriors. We'll talk about Niners when you are here next, okay?
You bet.
All right, my friend. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Goodbye, Michael.
See everybody.
Bye, Michael.
Well,
It's Mike. When Michael comes on, it's like a ding-a-thon. Ding, ding, ding.
He always brings dingable words. He does. And he's not trying. It's labored when you're listening to someone trying to get dings. That's not Michael Snyder. That's the way he writes.
Yeah.
So, we've had it all today. Sadly, it must end for us for this week. I want to thank everybody who supported us, and I want to do it by actually acknowledging I move over here in my in the vast Mark Thompson studio. I move about 14, 15 inches over so I can acknowledge Brian. Brian for $20. Thank you, Brian.
So much.
Thank you, Brian, for that. It's a great way to support us right this instant on YouTube. Your word dings are annoying but endearing. Keep it up. Oh, I think that's dingable. That's from Ernest. The Nikki Maduro show follows up, coming up at noon. Irving apologizes, but still suspended. We're talking about Kyrie Irving, I'm sure. Unless there's another Irving, maybe someone else is. Is there another Irving besides Kyrie? I don't think so.
Irving Cohen.
Irving Cohen at
CTV.
Irving Cohen at CAA is apologizing. Still suspended, though. The home of Jeff Bezos is likely is like working at an Amazon warehouse. I guess this is what insiders are saying. Twitter layoffs, nose picking and Alzheimer's, plus dogs up for adoption. Wow, she's got a lot of stuff going on. That's on the Nikki Maduro show, which is over on the Nikki Maduro show channel. I want to thank everybody who has helped us. John, do we need to name Mark? You're down to 5% battery.
I think
You're down
Nick
to
has-
5%
How
battery.
dare you?
Down.
What's that?
Nick has it down.
Yeah, Nick is saying what you were going to say, which
Right.
is that I'm down to 5% battery. I don't want to leave. We've had such good comments. I'll tell you what, I'll go back through the comments. I'll make note. I'll answer. I know we got a little thing about Ukraine today. I'll be happy to talk more about that. Next week is a big week. John Rothman will be through. Gary Dietrich will be through. Michael Shore will be through. All of our punditry associated with the midterms. We'll get that all going next week. It's going to be a strong week. Alzheimer's Walk is tomorrow at Pier 27. I think you can check in before 9 at Pier 27 in San Francisco. Should be great. Thanks for everybody who's helped us out. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
And if you're not a patron yet, please do join us in patronage on Patreon. And if you don't have any merch, the tote bag, might I interest you in a tote bag or perhaps in a Mark Thompson Show mug or the KJO in Exile t-shirt? If you get it, send us a pic and we'll share it with the audience. You can get that at getmarkmerch.com. So cool to have everybody with us. Enjoyed it. Thanks for all the ways you show us love. And Shadow, do you have anything?
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Yeah, very, very, very well done.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Until Monday, have a good weekend and bye-bye.